The first night I slept in my car, I promised myself it would only be for one night. By the third night, I had stopped making promises. Then, just when I thought life couldn't strip away any more of my pride, my roommate's mother looked me in the eyes, handed me a house key, and softly whispered, "You don't need to sleep alone anymore." At that moment, I had no idea those words would save far more than my future, they would save my heart. My name is Ethan, and until 6 months earlier, life had been simple. I was a hard-working college student juggling classes and 2 part-time jobs while sharing a tiny apartment with my roommate, Jake. We weren't best friends, but we respected each other. Rent was split evenly, bills were manageable, and I believed that if I kept working hard enough, everything would eventually fall into place. Then the restaurant where I worked closed without warning. Overnight, my income disappeared. I searched desperately for another job, but every interview ended with the same polite rejection. My savings vanished paying tuition and rent, and before long, I couldn't contribute my share of the apartment. Jake tried to be patient, but financial pressure changed him. One evening, he quietly admitted he couldn't carry both of us anymore. I understood. I packed my clothes into 2 bags, thanked him for trying, and walked away pretending everything would be okay. The truth was far different. I slept in my aging sedan in a supermarket parking lot. During the day, I showered at the campus gym and smiled at classmates who had no idea where I had spent the previous night. Hunger became familiar. So did loneliness. Every morning I told myself not to give up. I kept submitting applications, attending interviews, and pretending confidence I no longer felt. Pride stopped me from asking anyone for help because I believed needing help meant I had failed. A week later, Jake called unexpectedly. He sounded nervous and asked if we could meet. Assuming he wanted the last apartment key, I agreed. Instead, he arrived with his mother, Linda. She had always been kind whenever she visited our apartment, bringing homemade food and asking about my classes. This time, however, she looked worried. Before I could explain anything, she hugged me tightly. It was the first genuine hug I'd received in months. She had discovered from Jake that I had been living in my car. Jake confessed he hadn't realized how bad things had become. Guilt filled his face. Linda asked where I was staying. I hesitated before admitting the truth. She remained silent for several seconds before reaching into her purse, placing a small silver key in my hand, and saying, "We have a spare room. It isn't fancy, but it's warm. You don't need to sleep alone anymore." Those words nearly broke me. I wanted to refuse. Every part of my pride screamed that accepting charity would make me weak. But exhaustion won. That evening I followed them to their modest home on the edge of town. The spare bedroom held only a small bed, an old desk, and a bookshelf. To me, it looked like a luxury hotel. After weeks of fear and uncertainty, I slept through the entire night without waking to police lights or freezing temperatures. Living with Linda wasn't easy at first, not because she made it difficult, but because kindness felt unfamiliar. Every morning she left breakfast on the table before leaving for work. Every evening she asked how my job search had gone. She never judged me or made me feel like a burden. Instead, she treated me like family. Jake apologized repeatedly for asking me to leave the apartment. I assured him I understood. Money had strained both of us. Slowly, our friendship began healing. Weeks turned into months. Despite dozens of interviews, finding work remained difficult. Bills continued accumulating. I started questioning whether college was worth finishing. One evening Linda found me staring silently at unpaid tuition notices. She sat beside me and shared something she had never told anyone outside her family. Years earlier, after her husband died unexpectedly, she had nearly lost everything. She worked 3 jobs while raising Jake alone. Some nights they survived only because neighbors secretly left groceries on their porch. She confessed she had once believed accepting help meant admitting defeat. Instead, she learned that allowing others to help gave them the chance to express compassion. "Strength isn't pretending you don't need anyone," she said. "Strength is standing back up after someone helps you." Her words changed something inside me. The following week I accepted a temporary job cleaning offices overnight. The pay wasn't great, but it was honest work. I attended college during the day, worked through the night, and slept only a few hours. The schedule was exhausting, but every paycheck restored a piece of my confidence. Linda celebrated every small milestone as though I had won the lottery. When I paid my own phone bill for the first time in months, she baked my favorite chocolate cake. Then another challenge arrived. Linda suddenly became ill and was diagnosed with a serious heart condition requiring surgery. Medical bills piled up quickly. She never complained, but I noticed her quietly skipping medications to save money. Jake and I realized we couldn't stand by while the woman who had rescued both of us carried this burden alone. We organized a community fundraiser. At first almost nobody responded. I feared we had failed. But then something incredible happened. Former neighbors remembered how Linda had helped babysit their children years ago. Elderly people she had driven to hospital appointments donated what little they could. Former co-workers shared her story online. The community she had quietly served for decades came together in ways none of us expected. The fundraiser exceeded its goal within 2 weeks. Linda underwent surgery successfully. As she recovered, she cried not because of the pain but because she never imagined so many people cared about her. Watching complete strangers repay years of hidden kindness taught me that goodness often grows silently before revealing its true impact. Inspired by everything Linda had done, I finished college with honors. Soon afterward I secured a full-time position with a non-profit organization helping homeless young adults find housing, employment, and educational opportunities. Every time I met someone embarrassed to ask for help, I recognized the same fear I had once carried. Instead of judging them, I listened. Several years later I finally earned enough to buy my first home. It wasn't large, but it had 3 bedrooms. During the housewarming party, Linda smiled proudly as she walked through every room. Before everyone left, I handed her a framed photograph of the tiny spare bedroom where my life had changed forever. Underneath the picture were the words she had whispered years earlier. "You don't need to sleep alone anymore." Linda looked at me with tears in her eyes. A few months later, a young co-worker from my nonprofit lost his apartment after unexpected medical expenses. Without hesitation, I handed him my spare room key. His eyes widened in disbelief. I smiled and repeated the exact sentence that had once rescued me. "You don't need to sleep alone anymore." In that moment, I finally understood the greatest lesson Linda had ever taught me. Compassion doesn't end with one act of kindness. It travels from one heart to another, creating hope where despair once lived. A single open door can change someone's entire future. A warm meal can restore dignity. A safe room can rebuild dreams. And sometimes, the quietest words spoken at exactly the right moment become the reason someone never gives up. Life will always bring unexpected hardships. Jobs disappear. Friendships are tested. Pride convinces us to suffer in silence. But no one is meant to face life's storms alone. The strongest people are not those who never fall, they are the ones who accept a helping hand, rise again, and later become the hand that lifts someone else. That is how kindness survives. That is how hope spreads. And that is how one small room became the beginning of a completely new life.